know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, got in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it turnpike miles. Yeah, it's Google signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things.
Welcome back, everyone, to the newest edition of Once a Week. I'm Billy Jan and today we have a great guest for you. Now, if you've been keeping up on me and my events and my speaking moments, you might have seen last month the Reinvent You Summit pop-up, helping individuals like yourself learn from some of the greats on key areas of personal development. And the orchestrator of that entire event is with us here now, Leah Lovington, a coach helping people gain instant clarity on what they want and then begin to take action to create it in their life, but a coach with also a very, very inspiring story to back it up. I'm excited to dive into all that with her story, with all these key pieces to help you with your clarity and taking action, because I know there are key takeaways here. But I give you Leah Lovington. Leah, welcome to the show, and I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here, Billy. I love talking with you.
Right? No, our conversations just roll and it always leads to a great area. So
answers.
Right? That's so true. Yeah. But no, I'm really happy to have you here. I know we last talked months ago for the actual Reinvent You Summit, but let's catch up. How have things been? Should we start with your story and dive people in? But what's been going on in your life for that matter?
Oh, you know what? I've been traveling.
Yeah.
It's been nice. Yeah. So I've been traveling. I've been through several states, going across states. I was in Sedona and it was just really relaxing and nice. You know how everybody says, oh, there's such great energy in Sedona, but you don't really necessarily believe them till you get there. And I was like, oh, once I got there, I was like, oh, the energy is so nice. It was beautiful. Yeah. So I've been traveling and just coaching. So it's kind of, and I took a little time off for the holidays, which was nice.
Perfect. Needed. 100% needed, right? For everyone.
But should I start off with my story so everyone?
Yeah, let's dive into it. Yeah, let's dive into your story. Just give people background. You then, for people listening, we're going to talk about Leah's story just to give you background. But then Leah has the 4 steps that she helps people with personal mastery. And I think that's going to be a great backdrop for this entire video. But let's start, Leah. Tell people about you, your story, because there's so much power there that you and I discussed off camera months ago, connecting on so many areas. But what's your story? Let's hear it.
So my story starts with being married to an alcoholic for 14 years. And when he would drink and get to the point where he'd black out, he would get very aggressive and very abusive. And in one of his abusive rages, he smashed my head on the concrete and gave me a brain injury, which resulted in the loss of my memory. So I didn't remember who I was. Mm-hmm. So as I went to redesign myself or create a new me, or as in my Reinvent You Summit, hence the wording, because I literally had to figure out who I wanted to be and what I wanted out of life. And so as I was going along, and I kind of tell this story of, you know, when I woke up in the hospital, I was in Texas, and prior to that, I lived in Las Vegas. And so when I woke up and I went and, you know, after weeks being in the hospital and then coming out, I thought I was going home to my house in Las Vegas, and here I was in my house in Texas, right? Wow. So that's literally how much I had to redesign myself and how much I literally knew about myself anymore. It was just fleeting little memories, right? Wow. So as I was going along, and creating myself and really enjoying life and all of those things, because I didn't have all that baggage, right? Mm-hmm. I was going along, loving life, as you would say, skipping through the daisies, and my life was good. And I would get these memories back. So some of them would be just a fleeting memory. Some would be like a weekend memory of me and my girlfriends. And then some would be 15 years of my life. And I would end up doing this, right? So I had the new me and I had the old me, and they were coming in and they were going like this. Right. So I can already feel myself. I'm going like this when I think about the old me, right? Because as that memory would come in, I was learning all these things about myself. I was learning, wow, I was a massive people pleaser. And I never did anything for myself. It was for everybody else. I wanted everybody to like me. And in that, I realized that I had no identity, zero.
Mm,
Like, I didn't even know what that meant. I
right.
mean, I think if I looked up in the dictionary, it wouldn't even like consciously absorb because I was living life for everybody else. Right. Then I
Mm,
realized my parenting, because it took me months to actually remember my children. So I was getting to know them too. And so
mm,
then I remembered my parenting, and that was fly by the seat of my pants parenting. It was like make it up as I go along. Had no
true.
clue what type of parent I wanted to be. Never thought
Mm,
about it, never even knew it was an option, anything like that. And then when I went back to work, I was like going to a torture treatment every day. And I'm sure a lot of
mm,
people can relate to that, that they're just there for the paycheck. Oh, if I quit this job, how am I going to survive? So I keep putting on with the things that I hate, right?
mm,
So I realized like that was not my sole purpose of what I should be doing.
right.
So all these things were evolving, and I was learning about myself. And what do you do when you don't know something? You get
Mm,
on the internet, right? You Google it, right?
right.
And the thing that kept coming up was career and finances over and over and over. And that wasn't working for me. Like I wasn't getting where I wanted to go just on career and finances.
Mm,
And then, the other two ones that would come up are health and love relationships. And
yep.
over a 2 or 3 year period of time, I started to realize there were all these other categories in my life, like parenting and my mindset and
Yep.
and my social environments, all of these things that I started dialing in because we live a very holistic lifestyle, not just
Right.
career and finance, right?
Mm,
And that's what everyone focuses on, right?
right.
So I really learned how to balance my life and create these categories in my life, get harmony and balance in them.
Mm,
And that's what had me starting to live an extraordinary life and started being happy about my life, is
mm,
connecting all of my holistic categories together.
mm,
So that's how I started out. And then from there, I created courses and things like that of showing people how to redesign their life. Because without all of the the baggage that we carry
mhm,
around, it was very, very easy for me to see how to create the 4 steps to get you to the person that you want to be and truly the life that you want to live on your own terms.
yeah.
Right?
Mm,
I could see them very clearly because they were very black and white.
right.
And and going through them for years and adding more categories, I could see the 4 steps and how to get there very, very quickly. So each category that I would see, I could use my 4 steps and it would dial them in just like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
Because I wasn't trying to figure out how to get this limiting belief behind me or this behind me so then I can do this step and da da. No, it was right there.
yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I love that. I love your story. One, because you mentioned it, you were in an identity crisis, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
was kind of pushed upon you, this identity crisis. And I got some questions on that too to kind of give people more insight. But to connect it to the viewers right now, I think so many people might not have had a head injury or lost their memory,
Right.
but so many people are in an identity crisis now more than ever. Where whether it is in a job standpoint, where you're in, I don't know, you said career, finances, everything like that, but it didn't
Yeah.
connect to you, and it's as if something's pulling them to more. But whether it's limiting beliefs, whether it's fears, whether it's outside environments like family or housing, whatever the situation might be, but
Mhm.
a lot of us are so afraid to step into that true identity, so we stay in the identity we were told to live by growing up, by school, by external factors, whatever it is, and that identity crisis starts to build. But it takes a lot of confidence to be able to step into that. In your story, it sounds like God, the universe was sitting there like, there is so much more to Leah than she realizes, than anyone else realizes. Right. And so it was kind of pushed upon you to have these terrible circumstances. Like you said, the person you were married to like hurt you in such a way, but it, not to say a blessing came out of it, but in regards, now you're so much more of your true self because you had to go through those significant moments. And that's the beauty of life, where life is trying to get you to who you're meant to be. But some of us are afraid to let go of who we have been told to be. That stepping into the new version of ourselves is very, oh, I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should. But your 4 step process allows people to, in a way, step into that without the friction of I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this, because it's little steps that create the greatest increase in progress in life, for that matter.
Right.
Right.
And,
But my
and that's how
question for
you
you, yeah,
and that's how you build your confidence too, is by
yep,
stepping into, because you don't well, very rarely do you step into something and be like, I'm 100% confident,
sure.
right?
Right,
That
exactly.
happens like really only in children because they don't have all
Right.
the fears and everything.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
exactly.
it's doing the steps that create the confidence. It's the momentum cycle.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Let me
Mhm.
ask you this: with who is your memory of who you were, is that fully back now? Is it still bits and pieces? What would you say at this moment?
The answer to that is I don't fully know,
Okay. Yeah.
but
Sure.
I really relied on my children because they were the closest one to me, because
Sure.
I never remembered anything on my own, ever, even to
Mm,
this day. So
okay.
something had to be triggered, said, a person has to be brought in front of me, all of these things to, trigger it and get it. And
Mm,
so I feel like, and what my children say, I probably have about 70% of it back.
okay. Nice.
And whatever the 30 or 25 or whatever percent is left, I don't need to know. I'm good.
Mm, yep.
I'm
For
good,
sure.
because doing this all the
Yeah.
time, wonderful, gave me context, but you
Mm,
can only take so much,
yeah.
right? it,
Right.
it's like it's like you going in your life and having your issues in your life, and then let's compound that with another 25 some years of another person coming into it, right? It's
Right.
you can only just do so much. So I don't it kind of excites me not to know anything
Sure.
else.
Yeah. For sure. I
Yeah.
get that. And at the same
Um,
time, too, to even build on that, do you feel with the 75% that you have remembered or gained back, for that
mhm.
matter, or your kids helped you remember, do you feel that you've pulled out the good? You've pulled out the greater parts of your old self to now they're even better because they've formed with this new version of you. And it's as if you've let go of I'm not gonna say bad versions, but the stuff that didn't need to move forward in
Yeah.
life, we'll
And
say.
see, that question brings me right into my 4 steps, because
Okay,
I
perfect.
had to clearly define what I wanted.
Mm,
And I think that is probably one of the best questions in the world to ask
yeah.
yourself, is what do I want?
Yeah.
Because that
Mm,
starts everything,
for
right?
sure. Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, when I would do this, I had to say, do I want this old me? Do I
Mm,
want this new me? I had complete context right in front of me. What
right.
do I want? And from
Mm,
there, I would build it. It was my choice. Or even when, after my accident and I went back home,
hmm
I instantly felt like this fear. I see my hand shook when I thought about it, right? Because it's
Yeah.
still like embedded in me, and I always continually have to make this choice of,
Right.
I knew I didn't want to live there.
Yeah.
I was not
Mm,
going to live there. I was going to be walking through the daisies in this most wonderful place in my life,
mm, yeah.
because I didn't
For
have all
sure.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't make
Right.
the choice like, hey, I want to go back and live in all that stuff. Yay,
Yeah.
yay. No, I did not say that at all.
Right.
So I constantly had to make this choice and figure out what I wanted. And
Mm,
and and what happened in figuring out what I wanted was, I realized that my whole life was choosing everything I didn't want.
gotcha.
It was all about the don't wants,
Mm,
right? Because I
right.
didn't feel worthy enough, or I didn't. And this is one of the biggest things I see in people, is that they don't even know that they have an option to want those things.
It's true. Yeah.
Right?
Right. Mm,
I never knew I had the option. You could have handed me this silver platter, right?
mhm,
With the most perfect career, the most perfect relationship, the most perfect children, all these perfect things. And I'd go over here and dump it over and be like, I'm going to pick those I don't wants. That's how I
gotcha.
live my life, and everything of I don't want, because that's where I felt and didn't know I could have what I wanted. And that's where I felt comfortable in.
Mm,
And
right.
after my accident, so those things would come in, but after my accident, everything was, I like that. I mean, it's so black and white. I like that. Why would I eat that when I can eat that? Oh,
Yeah.
I want that. Oh, everything was about, I was living my life in the wants,
Right. Mm,
you know,
that's
and
awesome.
even my mind shift, my direction of, like, I use this as an example, is as my kids would be walking with the scissors, right?
Mhm.
And I would say, "Oh, don't walk with the scissors that way." I'm telling them what I don't want. And
Yeah.
so when after my accident, everything was what I want. I would say, "Oh, let's carry the scissors like this because this is what I want you to do." Right?
Right.
That's how it just started naturally come out. So I could quickly recognize everything I was doing in the don't wants. And
Right.
people don't realize that. They
Mm.
don't talk in what they want. They don't do what they want. They don't think that they can have what they want. So
Right.
you really have to ask yourself, what is it that you want?
Mm.
Right?
Mm. That's powerful.
You,
You keep
right?
going.
'Cause that's what we walk in our lives is mostly in the don't wants.
Right. Yeah. And to think on that, where, you mentioned you grew up in that sense. You got to a
Mhm.
place, or looking back, you could see wherever you were kind of gravitating towards what you didn't want. You could look back at your life and realize, like, oh my goodness, like why was I moving in that direction? For a lot of people, as you said, we're kind of grown that way. We're raised that way. School environments, jobs,
Mhm.
everything. The people
Yes.
around build us into that environment, that outlook in the world, where we're not supposed to have that. We're not supposed to have this. We're supposed to have that. We're supposed to have this, but we never actually question, does that fit right for me? So
Yes.
more often than not, we're taking our personal power and we're putting it to the side. Our personal power is being able to choose for ourselves what we believe, what we want for ourselves, where we want our
Mhm.
life to go, much like your steps allow people to do. So I sit there and I think of the self work people can do right now with this, and being able to, in a sense, it kind of steps into another identity, like your own story exemplifies. But for people to actually write down that concept of, what do I want in my life? What do I not want in my life? But at the same time, what have I been allowing in my life? What have I allowed myself to choose without telling myself, hey, you can actually choose the opposite? Because so many people are
Yes.
told, like, I sit there and think of maybe my parents or whoever, or someone's parents, telling us that I don't know, as you just said, you can't run with the scissors, you can't walk with the scissors that way, whatever it is. So it ingrains in a young child's mind the
Mhm.
belief that I can't do that. That's bad. I can't touch that. I can't do that. And,
Yes.
for certain regards, that can completely be normal and completely be fine. But there are deeper areas than just the scissors example, where we could be told to, I always sit there and use the example of someone told me growing up that I'll never be anything in my life. I'll never be a success. And if a young kid hears that
Mhm.
and they just build, because they cherish that person that told it to them, they build a belief. Well, I guess I'll never be any. What's the point of me trying? And then
Yes.
that usually is someone that doesn't have the confidence to take action for themselves, because they're holding the other person's belief greater than their own, and that limits them. So for
Yes.
people listening right now, we'll get into more deeper
Yes.
actual steps you can take in this self-work concept. But
And
this is something to think on. Yeah, take it away.
yes, and a lot of people do. What I've noticed is when they want something, they do the occasional wishing or the half-hearted wanting, where
Mm,
wanting is a form of connection with you. It's your
mm,
knowingness of what you truly want.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
So like an example of that would be my son, right? My son, every time he would see a purple Dodge Charger, he's like, I want that. I want that. Right.
mm.
And then he would get pissed off that he didn't have it and stuff. And I was like, because that's occasional wishing. You're just like wishing for it and think it should just whammo be in your driveway, right?
Yeah.
And so that's
Right.
another form of how people think of or think they're very clear on what they want is
Mm.
occasional wishing and half-hearted wanting.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into that clarity aspect, because that's a major piece that you help people with your four-step process.
Yeah.
Let's start guiding people through it. Like, let's go over this four-step process to help people with their own clarity. As you just said,
Yeah.
people want in all these areas, or they wish rather than and taking steps towards it. But let's explain it. What's this
Yeah.
four-step process that you help people with?
So the first one is what do you want?
Yep.
So I'll tell you the four steps, and then we can go through them as we're talking about
Okay.
them. And
For sure.
so the first one is what do you want? The second one is what do you believe? And then and then the third one is why do you want it? And the fourth one is how are you going to get it?
Okay. Yeah.
So the first one in wanting, what do you want, is all about decision making.
Mm.
So, but what a lot of people do is they don't make decisions, and how you know they're not making decisions or how you might recognize it in yourself is complaining.
Okay.
And what I remember about myself is I complained. I was a huge complainer. So I kept on this vicious complaining cycle, right? And it depends what level of a complainer Are you a complainer that you went into groups to find your own people to complain about? Are you someone that when the topic arises, you just complain about it right at that time? Or are you someone that keeps the complaining inside, right? And keeps it running inside? So when you find yourself complaining, it means you're not making a decision to move past that, right? Or the shoulds. You should be doing this. They should be doing that. It's not taking any responsibility. And until you take responsibility, you can't get past it, right? You can't get to what you want.
Yeah.
And that's where you live in you half-hearted wanting.
Right.
Then the other one is the someday life, that dreaming life, that someday you'll get it. It's like always out of reach, and it always reminds me of my ex-husband and in the garage with his buddies, and they were all, and he was a mechanic for years.
Okay.
And they'd always be talking, every single time they got together, they'd always be talking about, they're going to buy a car and they're going to rebuild it and they're going to beef it up and put this lift and da-da-da-da-da. And this went on for like 3 years, this someday life.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And they were going to build this business out of it and da-da-da-da. So that's what I mean, that then you're not living in reality. And so then you're not making decisions.
Right.
Right? So that's the decision making process is what is really, really, really important in figuring out what you want.
Yeah, for sure. So with that being the first step for people right now, say someone's watching this with a pen and paper. What would you ask them? Because you have this entire course that people can take, but say we put it out there and is it simple as what do I want, and they write it down in that sense, if they're writing it in the form of should have or should do this, whatever, they cross that out. Like, how do you guide people through the first step of figuring out and getting clarity on what do you truly want with your life?
Well, see, it's not so much. I mean, I'm there to help you, right?
For sure.
But it's your true essence, right? So it's got to come from you. I'll just help you give you the steps to start seeing clearly what you want.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Because so many people want to tell you how you should do this. And granted, I do some of those and more in your belief, right? But I can't tell you what you want.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? That has strictly got to come from you. And then once you kind of figure out what you want, then we start making decisions from that point, from that vision, right?
Yep.
So how it works is now you know what you want, right? And you have your clear vision, your life vision, right? And in that, how you stay in the vision and how you stay in what you want, how you can clear it is by the decisions that you make. So if you define a clear vision for yourself and what you want, it's easy to make those decisions. It keeps you in a framework, because now every decision that you're making lines with your vision. So it's really simple. And how you keep what you want and figure out what you want is that you're making decisions that align with that. So does it align with my vision or doesn't align with my vision? So if it aligns with my vision, then yes, I'm going to take it in and I'm going to run with what I want, and it feels good. And if it doesn't, if it's not aligned with it, you say goodbye. Yeah,
for sure. Now, do you, in helping people get to that stage where they do say goodbye, have you ever had a client or someone take your course and that's the biggest struggle, to be able to let go and say goodbye of something that they know isn't part of their vision, but they've been ingrained for so long doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's kind of a learned behavior at that point that they can't let go. And it's like they can, but it's very tough too. Does that ever pop up with you and your clients where it's an insecurity, it's a limiting belief concept for sure, it's a fear, right? Mm-hmm.
So how that's where we go. Then that's where we go into the belief. But I want to make this point in wants.
Yeah.
In the wants before we go to belief.
Okay.
Is one of the big things that we work on in the want category to get you to start realizing what you want is how you speak and the words that you use.
Right.
So when I say the words that you use, people often say, pick out the words that empower you, right?
Mm,
And that's basically where it's left at. You want to be using the words like you don't want to, and you could be, or I'm going to try, right? That's kind of the basis of what people say about pick the words, oh, it's powerful, it's wonderful, pick these good words and start using these words. But
right.
what people don't tell you and what empowers you to get you to see clearly of what you want is you need to illuminate
Mm,
and activate those words. So now they feel good inside of you. You're getting the words to feel good inside of you. So
gotcha.
now when you're speaking what you want, it's communicating clearly and it's coming out clearly and you're feeling good about it. And as you can
Mm,
hear yourself, it starts to define more of what you want,
mm,
right? So and this is just one of the little steps that helps you see more clearly of it. So now you illuminate and activate the words and you make
mm,
them feel good in your system. So now you become a powerhouse when you speak. Now
for
your
sure.
communication is clear. Now when you're speaking, it's resonating. You're feeling good with all the words that you're using. And you don't have to have a huge vocabulary. You can have 10 words that you've empowered inside of yourself. So now you're speaking about all the things that you want. You feel like you're a powerhouse. The words that are coming out are empowering you. You feel good. All of these things start to activate on all the things that you want when you activate and illuminate words.
Gotcha. That's powerful. And you and I talked with the last time we got together on the concept that I love teaching people how powerful their thoughts, their words, and their actions are. And speaking these words with empowerment, getting the feeling tone from these words and increasing your energy in that concept, but also it changes your internal dialogue. So then your beliefs have to change with them
Right.
because you're believing behind it. Yep. Keep going.
Because when you don't have good communication, right,
Hmm.
and understanding, telling people what you want and
Hmm.
communicating it effectively, your body gets stymied, right? The
Yeah.
flow stops.
Mm,
So now that's where you shut down what you want because you're frustrated. They're not
mm,
understanding. You get angry. That's where all these things start taking place because you can't freely communicate on what you want to get it through, and that's what stops a lot of people from thinking they can have what they want.
right. Yeah, that's powerful. I hope people listening right now take that and they can begin to utilize that concept because I want to kind of keep the ball rolling right now into the beliefs because you said that's step two. Once the words and everything, right? Because I sit there and like trying to make sure I ask my questions right because I love this where it's guiding forward, but I don't want to rush
Mhm.
people through this. So for them to kind of move with us right
Yeah.
now, and if they've gone through the what do I want, they're changing the words, they're empowering the feeling tone behind those words, they're walking in this power now. What's next? Do we move into beliefs or is there another piece to
Yeah.
the
I mean,
want section?
there are way more many pieces and
Yep.
getting you to what you want. Um, but I think we should just go right into what you believe.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we'll give them a tidbit of everything for sure.
yeah. Okay. So, what do you believe is the next one. And belief is all about certainty.
Mm,
And people don't view it like that. They view it as in, what are my limiting beliefs that I have to get through? And we hit
mm,
more on the angle of, no, what do you believe? And then we break it down, right?
gotcha.
We break it
Mm,
down. And that's we want to get to the certainty right away
mm,
and getting to that point. And you have to have certainty and this inner knowingness in your belief.
mm,
Otherwise, if you would say, how do I say this? Then it's just this belief that if you don't have the inner knowingness about your belief, then that's where you get stuck. That's where a lot of people get stuck in manifesting too, right? So you have to
gotcha.
have this
Yeah, right.
certainty and this inner knowingness. So there's a difference between knowingness, knowing about, and believing something. So there's 3 stages in the belief. And that's what
Gotcha.
people
Okay.
having a hard time with,
Mm,
right? Because they
right.
just think, I believe this, and this is what's blocking me. But they don't actually
Gotcha.
take the 3 steps in the belief to break it down, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So So there's knowingness, knowing about, and believing something. So if you say you believe in something, right, you actually have very little to base your belief on, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, right?
Uh-huh.
So if you actually had lots of data supporting your belief,
Right.
it would
Yep.
not be a belief. It would be a fact.
Right. Yeah,
So
exactly.
so that's something you would say you know to be true.
Hmm.
So you only say you believe something because you don't have enough facts where it becomes indisputable. So an
Okay. Gotcha.
example of that is, I'll take you, Billy, as an example.
Yep.
So
For
you're
sure.
a male,
Hmm.
right? You don't say, I believe I'm a male, right?
Right.
You know you're a male. It's
Right.
it's
Exactly.
not right. It's not a belief. It's a fact. You know
Yeah,
you are a male, and you have certainty in that fact, right?
for sure. Yep. Right.
So beliefs are always based on very few facts.
Mm.
And
Gotcha.
that's where a degree of doubt comes in about your beliefs. So now you're
Mhm.
doubting, right? So
Right.
this is where where you see people, attacking others, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, you ever had conversation with people that are so defensive all the time, and you're like,
Right.
"Ugh," because they don't believe the same way you do,
True.
and they want to make you wrong. They
Hmm.
want to prove their beliefs. This belief
Right.
is true, and they need the biggest thing is they need to be right, right?
It's true.
That's where the
Yep.
righteous conversation comes in. Right?
Right.
So then there's the knowing about something.
Hmm.
And when you know about something, you have lots of facts and data to back up everything, that you
Mm.
say that know about, right?
Gotcha. Hmm.
But you're just really knowing about it, and that still leaves you with these inner doubts.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Mm.
So I'll give you an example of that. So
Yep.
if you read a lot of books on Switzerland, right? Watch a dozen movies on Switzerland, talk and interview a lot of people that live in Switzerland. You
Yeah. Yeah.
study Switzerland. You could say you know about Switzerland, and you could even be called an expert in Switzerland, right?
Hmm.
But if you've never went to Switzerland, never lived in Switzerland, and you're not a native of Switzerland that's lived there your whole entire life, and you speak French like the Switzerland, you really don't know Switzerland. You
True.
only
I get
know
that.
about
Yeah.
Switzerland,
Right.
right?
Mm.
And then there's knowingness. And this is when you have knowingness, it's connected with you. And a
Mm.
great example of that is you, Billy. Like when we
Mm.
were on the Reinvent You Summit,
Right.
you talked about from day one of being a little kid, you knew that you wanted to serve people. You
Right.
had this inner knowingness and went and was directed in life just doing that, like leaving your
Yeah.
parents and going to help someone, right? Because
Right.
you knew that's what you wanted to do, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So when you have this inner knowingness and it's
Mm.
connected with you, there's no need to convince anyone of anything,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
There's no sense
Mm.
of threat. If someone doesn't agree with you, oh well.
Yeah.
They can have their
Right.
opinion, I can have mine. And even when they're throwing their opinion on you, you're like, okay,
Yeah. Right.
sure. And
Yeah.
you'll see them get hyper and frustrated and So
Right.
it's as simple as, you're accepting, you're understanding, you're certain. There's no
Right.
fear anymore, no need for validation. This is where inner confidence is.
Mm. For sure.
And
Right.
that's where I want to get people to is
Nice.
their belief in the knowingness.
Mm. Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where
Right.
you're living your life on your own terms. You don't need any
Exactly.
validation from people. There's nothing
Right.
that you need because you're running on the belief of your knowingness, which is just automatically coming out. So that's why
Mm.
so many people have the hardest time of manifesting because you have to believe it's true.
Right.
These
Yep.
are the steps to believe that it's true.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that for people listening right now. And it's, I sit there and I think of people that, whether it's a client that I have or whether it's friends, strangers who I come across, whatever it is, that's the one concept. And we don't have to talk about the big topic of manifestation, but just in life, when you were trying to live life on our own terms, what you just broke down for people is exactly it. How can you
Mhm.
live life on your own terms when you're basing your decisions off of validation from everyone else? That
Yes.
comes back to confidence. That comes back to I'm not going to go left, even though I want to go left because everyone's telling me to go right. It's people pleasing in a greater concept. But if you're trying to do that so much, you aren't living life on your own terms.
Right. And
You don't know yourself.
that brings you
Mhm.
back to defining what you want.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I like just in this concept, just going with the first two steps. I love how you break it down for people where it's like what you want definitely is like the top of the chart, and then it's like the web. It kind of branches down, like but everything's leading you back to the top of the
It
chart for
trickles
that matter.
into everything because a lot of people think, because I have 12 categories. I'm just going to tell people what the 12 categories are, so if
Yeah.
we talk about them, they know. So the first category is your character, right?
Hmm.
Really breaking down your self-image, um, how you view yourself, your morals, your values, right? Then we have your emotional life, because
Yep.
you want to put all the good emotions in your life,
Mm.
rather than doing the roller coaster ride. And then we have
Right.
your health and fitness, and then we have your mindset and your growth, which is your intellectual life. Then we have
Hmm.
your spiritual life, which is more on
Yep.
living on purpose rather than religion, right? And then
Right.
we have your relationships, which is your love relationship, then your parenting, and then your social life. What's your environment for your social life, because that dictates a lot, right?
Yeah, for
Then we have
sure.
your career and finances, your wealth, and then we
Yep.
have your happiness category, because you can dial all these in and be the most miserable person ever,
It's
right?
true.
And then we
Yeah.
have your life vision, summing it
Mhm.
all up together. So now you have your life vision, you have your direction, and
Right.
and so what when I say 12 categories, people are like, "Oh my gosh, that's way too much," right?
uh, I get that.
But what ends up happening is, once you define,
Yep.
you get really crystal clear on your vision and what you want, and you walk yourself through the 4 steps and at least 3 categories, it trickles down into all
True.
the other categories. And
Yeah.
then it becomes this flow of harmony, and you don't have much work in the other categories. So, an example of that would be character, right?
Mm.
That's why
Right.
character is my first one that I go on, because you take
Mm.
yourself wherever you are in all these categories, right?
Right. It's true. Yeah.
And how you do one thing is how you do all things, and that's your character. It's your
Yeah.
self-image, your personality, your morals, your values, right? So
Right.
you once you define your character, let's say self-discipline, because that's one of the biggest. That's probably 75% on people's lists
Yeah.
of the
Mm.
character trait that they want to embody, right?
Right.
So now that you've worked on your character and you're more self-disciplined, and that's a focused character that you want to embody, you want to
Hmm.
feel, your beingness goes out like that, and then that's how people view you.
Right.
Wow,
Mm.
that person's really self-disciplined, right?
Right.
Now let's say we get to your health and fitness category. Boom, what's the biggest thing in health? I always do this. I always go boom, pow,
That's
yes.
awesome.
Like, have you ever seen old Batman, where
Yeah.
the
Right.
power
Exactly.
comes out there like pow and boom? That's
Exactly.
how I talk. And
It's awesome.
for the younger generation, they're like, "What's that?"
I love that though. That's perfect.
So now, boom, when you hit
Right.
the health and fitness category, that's the biggest thing, is self-discipline, disciplining
True.
yourself. So it's already trickled down into and you've got 50% of that taken care of. Right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
each category becomes easier, and then it synchronizes and harmonizes all together, rather than you feeling like you got to take this one out and work on this. And then when
Mhm.
that's done, put it back in, or this category, right? No, it all starts to flow in harmony. Yeah.
Right.
Because you're
Yeah.
supporting each category.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not taking it out and going, "Oh, this one's separate from this one." And that's what we learn how to do.
Right. That's powerful for
Yeah.
people watching and listening right now. That's so powerful because I think the biggest piece of this is realizing how intertwined all of these areas are. So to work on one and see how it impacts the others, So when someone is trying to live life on their own terms, someone's improving their self, improving their life, their personal development journey, whatever term they want to put on it, you take one of these steps, naturally it's going to impact the next step, and naturally it's going to impact the third step and fourth step and fifth step. But that's the growth. But that's in that growth is when you come back to your confidence and realize that you are the one taking these steps. You are the one knowing that you're on the right track. You are the one realizing all of these areas to, I have clarity on what I want in my life. I understand my beliefs now, and then moving into the next step, which we're going to get into for the final two.
Yeah.
But realizing that people improving one area has to improve the next, because it trickles, as you just said.
And people don't realize that, because how often do you look at your life and go, I should work on my spiritual life. I should also work on my social life.
Right.
Like, they don't think about those things, right?
It's true.
So
Yeah.
when you take, and when I teach it, we go in order, right?
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
But you can take it however you want to take it. Like, I always tell people, work on the thing. I recommend character first. That's
Okay.
the one big
Yeah.
thing I recommend. And then after that, take the one that you really, really want to work on and start working on that, because that's the one that's going to impact you the most, and then trickle down to the other ones and make the other ones easier.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that's awesome.
If you dial in, pow, if you dial in
Right?
your
Yeah.
character category,
Yeah.
it really helps you in all your other categories tremendously, right? Because
That's awesome.
you don't take your spiritual life with you. Like, I can tell when I go into a room if these are my people that I can talk spiritually with, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because if I go into a room and they're not, and I start talking about it, they're like, "Oh, look at that woo woo, that cray cray," right?
Right. It's true. I get that.
Right. But I take my character with me everywhere I go, right?
Right.
I'm always, they'll know my morals, they'll know my value, they'll know what I'm about by the time we leave. I don't have to say anything spiritually to them.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great observation. So now guide us into the next step. So people, if they step into your course, which we're gonna put everything at the end of this, just as much for people to gain more information on these 12 steps where they can find your course and everything. But moving into the third step, what's the third step if we keep the ball rolling with this?
So why do you want that?
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm going to, this is about your purpose.
Okay.
So if you do not have a big enough reason of your why or your purpose, it will never motivate you. It will never happen. And people continually, I'll see them dial in their first two steps, and then that's where they fall flat.
Gotcha.
Right? If you don't know why you're doing something, it will never motivate you enough to achieve it.
Yeah.
So how I came about this was, as I was doing stuff, there were certain things where I was like on it. I wasn't thinking at the time, like after my accident, and I came about this, I wasn't thinking, oh, why do I want this? I was just noticing as I was going about things, why could I do this thing that I finished all the way through, and it was enjoyable, and I liked it, and I didn't even question myself of finishing it. It was like, it's done, we're doing it. And then why were these other things? I would start it, and within a day or two it would go away. Or I would start it like exercise. I would start it. I would do it for 30 days, 45 days, and then I would make an excuse. Oh, because I can't do this, or right. And after 30 days, it would fall flat, and then I'd pick it up maybe 30 days or 6 months later and do it. And I got to clearly see, why are these things falling flat and these things are total empowerment in my life? And it was because of the reason why I was doing it, my purpose behind it. And for everybody, it's different. So here is a good example of it, and this one sticks with me. Like, it's like I almost embodied it when my friend Derek told me about this. And he was in my course. And he was like me early on, is he kept falling flat on his exercise program.
Okay.
He'd do it for 60 days, then he'd drop it for like 2 weeks, do it, and then he'd say, oh, because I was traveling. Well, you can still exercise. Every place you travel to has an exercise place. And if not, put some bands in your room or something.
Right.
And so, what it came down to is he didn't have a big enough why. And he couldn't dial it in. He couldn't figure out what his why was.
Yeah.
Well, he loved his wife and he lived for his wife and he loved to make her happy. He was 100% an acts of service kind of person, right?
Nice.
What can I do for my wife? Happy wife? He's happy, right? And that's how he thought.
Yeah.
And so one of his wife's biggest fear was he would die, go before she went.
Okay. Gotcha.
And he did not want that to happen. So his why, it clicked with him. His why was, his purpose for that was staying physically fit. So his wife, and it sounds kind of odd when I say this, but that his wife would die before he did. So she'd never have to live with that fear. And that was enough motivation and purpose. Wow. And now it was direct.
Wow. It's connected to the bigger belief of wanting to make her happy.
Exactly. He finally embodied it. He finally knew his why. He finally had the purpose. And to this day, it's still dialed in.
Gotcha.
He doesn't say, oh, Leah, I missed my workout today. Or, oh, Leah, I was traveling and I couldn't work out. It was dialed in. He had his purpose. He had his why. And it keeps you motivated. If you do not have that, it will fade out. You will never achieve what it is you want. You're never going to get to the life that you want and live this extraordinary life, right? Because most people live ordinary lives. Right? Yeah. Doing the same old thing over and over and over. And to go through these 4 steps is actually teaching you to get the life that you want and the person that you want to be on your own terms. And that is an extraordinary life. Yeah,
right. Exactly.
And
I love that.
People live extraordinary lives because they'll dial in 1 or 2 of these steps, and mostly they get to the why and then it's cut off. But you're never going to get to where you want to go unless have you ever looked at someone in your life? You've looked at somebody and you kind of think they're going nowhere.
I gotcha.
And all of a sudden they get this like wild hair, They get this wild hair and they shoot off and they become made something out of themselves. Yeah. And you're like, wow, if they can do it, I can do it. It's because they got really clear on their why and their purpose.
For sure.
And they've almost kind of done it backwards. Now they start implementing and they believe in themselves and now they figured out what they want, because you see some people start something and then they start going through it, right? And then that makes them clearly define what they want with a bunch of mistakes. Right? Yeah. So they end up doing all of these steps, sometimes backwards or whatever. I'm just trying to get you very clear, very focused, so you're not doing all of these mistakes as you're going along.
Yeah, for sure. Which is needed. And I think in this step, it's so powerful because I love to always ask people, I think the basis of so much self-improvement tools and techniques is, why do we do what we do? And when you can get to that, the reason, as you said, the purpose behind why you do what you do, or your goal, or why you act a certain way. And the idea came to me when you were speaking of is, we all sit there and the greater topic for so many people is, what's my purpose in life? But we never break that down to realize that there is a purpose behind every single action we take in life, every single choice we make, every single decision we have. There's a purpose behind it. So when you can connect the reasons behind your why, the purpose, as you said, your friend Derek, his purpose behind exercising and being healthy and fit isn't necessarily for himself. It's to be able to serve his wife at a greater level, which has been his goal from day one. So when it aligns with a greater purpose, you realize my purpose behind going to the gym is so much deeper than just trying to lift the weights, trying to get stronger, trying to lose weight on the treadmill, whatever it is. So for people listening right now, figure out what your purpose is behind all the actions that you want to take or need to take or should take or whatever term we want to put on it, but there's a list of what you want in
Yeah.
your life, and there's a purpose behind the actions you take to get there, but there's also a purpose behind the reasons why you aren't taking those actions. And it
Yes.
sounds like that's exactly what Leah is getting to in the process of helping you in this 4-step process. And if you actually take the course and go through all the 12 pieces she mentioned before, it sounds like you got the game plan right there, but there's still one more step, right, Leah?
Yes. And that's, how do you achieve it?
Yeah. Okay.
And that's just about breaking your actions down, your steps to achieve your
Gotcha.
vision, right? So now that you have it all lined up, what's the
Mhm.
first step are you going to take? And everybody hears this, right? You take small, simple little steps. Like,
Yep.
my health and fitness is a category that's really hard for me to do steps in, right? So I'm going to start out by drinking for this whole entire week. I'm going to do a small step by drinking X amount, a gallon of water every day. So it's
Right.
really just
Right.
breaking down your steps in what
Nice.
feels good for you. And once you line these up, it becomes easier to take small steps because you've embodied it. Now
Right.
you know what
Exactly.
you want, right? Now
Yep.
you know what you believe. You're calmer, you're more settled. Because when you go to just doing your habits right away, you feel
Yep.
this rigor. You dream big, right?
Yeah.
And it ends up ruining it every
It's true.
single time.
Yeah.
But when you take these steps, now you're in your true essence, and you feel like if you dream big, you're ruining it. You
Gotcha.
start to become easier on yourself, and then you take the small habits to know you're doing it the right way. And that's
Right.
key. That's
Mm.
key of doing it the right way and what resonates with you. Now, that doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's going to not feel a little uncomfortable, because whenever you apply something, no matter what, you're going to feel uncomfortable about it right away. But you get through it quicker because you
Right.
have a more certainty about it.
Yeah.
That's why
Exactly.
belief is so strong that when you feel certain about it, you just kind of automatically do the next habit, the next step, not the next habit, the next step.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Where people don't realize that when you become certain about something, it's just kind of an automatic step that you do.
Yeah.
Where if you're not certain and you still have those doubts and those fears and things like that, and you're not at the knowingness in your core, then that's when you start doing your steps, and then you back away from it because you feel fear.
Right. You said a word just there that it was on the tip of my tongue. It was in my head while you were talking. The core. All these steps bring people back to their core, and it allows them to build from their core rather than most people who start from the external, the outside, looking in, trying to figure out that core piece. Your steps guide them right to the core of who they are and who they want to be and what they want in their life, and then they start to build from there. And I think that's a great start because, as you just said, if we want to use the health example, the fitness example, diet, whatever it is, we have the goal in mind. We have what we want to achieve, but we tend to come out guns a-blazing, and we'll get some results, but then usually there's a hurdle. There's something that trips us up along the way. And I've seen that myself. I've seen that over the years, people in the gym, if we want to stick on that topic, where I sit there and think of all the fad diets that come out, and some people try them and they lose weight, but then they hop right off when I reach my goal, and then they go right back to their old ways.
Yeah.
So the core of the matter hasn't been sustained to where they want this continually. They got their immediate goal, but the elongated aspect of that isn't followed through. With the steps you're guiding people to, it allows them to get to the innermost part of themselves and then walk forward from there, which is, at the end of the day, living life on your terms, because you're helping people heal in this process too. You're healing that confidence. You're healing that growth. You're healing the ability to move forward and take action, and to have faith to see it through the finish. But Leah, I think that the 4 steps, it's funny to say 4 steps, as deep as this is 4 steps that people can take. 4. And if people can take those 4 steps, it's life change waiting to happen. It's not like I sit there, and I can remember as a kid, we had to do one of the summer reading lists was Harry Potter. And I hated having to read Harry Potter, not because it was an incredible book, incredible movie, the whole series. However, I did not want to read 750 pages. I did not want to. So I looked at this giant book as like, I don't want to do that. And so I was already telling myself, I don't want to, I'm not going to. And, you force yourself here and there. But because you're forcing yourself, you don't really take everything you can from it. But to look at it as these 4 steps, or to look at a book concept in bite-sized pieces, you get so much further down the line. And that's what this
Mhm.
4-step process brings to people, for that matter.
Yes. And see, not having the baggage
Hmm.
was very simple for me to be able to
Sure.
break that down. And that's
Yeah.
really easy for me to say, because who doesn't have all the who loses their memory
Yeah.
and doesn't have all
For
the
sure. Yeah.
but it was very easy for me to dial in to help people. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I can
Mm.
see it immediately in people. So
Right.
so when people coach with me, what I do is, like, when they go into the personal mastery system, a lot of times I do a year coaching. I do
Mm.
15-minute laser coaching with them. It comes
Nice.
with the course, right?
Mm.
And the reason why I do that is because I'm not letting them go past until they get on the phone with me and I can feel they have it in their
Yeah.
core.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Because so many, like I said before, like, when I'll use the what do you want, because
Hmm.
so many people will be talking to me, no, I want this, and I can tell that it's half-hearted wanting,
Gotcha.
it's
Yeah.
surface level wanting. And
Right.
that's not the point. The point is to get to the core of what you want. And it's
Yeah.
okay, and now you can know that you want that. It's
Mm.
embedded in you, it's embodied in you, and then now we can go on to the next one. So
Yeah.
so when you take the course, it goes 6 to 8 weeks, but you have a year that you can be calling in and getting coaching, because you don't go through all of this in 6 to 8 weeks.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. It's not that quick. Exactly.
I didn't redesign my life, and I was like, oh, 6 weeks later,
Right.
I'm new. Woohoo!
Exactly. No, it's true. It's true. Right. And you made a very good point too. You came to this process through your injury, through essentially the slate being clean. So, and that's terrifying for a lot of people. It must have been terrifying for you, in the sense of, what? You're kind of like a clean slate, that this is
Yeah.
new, but then it sounds like you didn't let it stop you. You
But
started to recreate your life.
I chose I wasn't going to live in fear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the point I'm getting at, where you had this clean slate and you leveraged it. You allowed yourself to choose forward. So for people listening now, you kind of just mentioned you necessarily didn't come into it with the baggage. People come into this process, not just with the personal mastery program, but for any aspect of self improvement, we come into it with the baggage. It might not be a clean slate, but that's the beauty of having you or a coach in place to allow the baggage to kind of get sifted through
Yes.
while this person's taking their steps from their core outward, it
Yeah.
sounds like. Right?
Yes.
Mm,
And the only way that you can do that is to actually have them embody it, the
exactly.
knowingness.
Right. Yeah.
And
I
that's
love it.
like a lot
Yeah.
of people miss,
Yeah.
right? Is the
Right.
certainty.
Mm, exactly. There's a lot of overlap between a lot of the areas we help people. That's why I know whenever you and I hop on a call, there's so much energy there. There's so much connection on these topics, because it's truly the matter of helping everyone. And for people to realize that, they can gain so much from it. But we've gone over the 4 steps of this course and everything. We'll start to round this whole thing out.
Yeah.
We've gone over the 4 steps, but you've mentioned the personal mastery program, everything like this. Give people more information. Where can they find it? If someone's listening right now, they're trying to take notes and everything, where can they find it? Where can they find you? How can someone get become a part of your course and take this course?
I laugh at this. I am not a social media person. Now
Yeah.
that's changing, because I'm finally embodied that I want to do social media, but for the
There you go.
longest time, I didn't care enough about it.
Yeah, I
Because
get it completely.
yes, because I believe in the nurturing. So when people come in to my course,
Mhm.
I nurture them. I'm like, I love on them, I make sure that they're okay. That's my specialty. So I didn't feel the
Mm,
need to go on to social media, but now I have embodied that social media is
yeah,
starting social media. So
for sure.
as of right now, the only place is my website. Like, if you look me
Okay.
up on
Gotcha.
Facebook or Instagram, I think I have like 9 followers.
It's going to build.
So to go to my website, which is leahlovington.com.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
Simple
on
enough.
there, it has my personal mastery course. And I just finished one for diversity art. Matter of fact, my challenge just started today on redesigning the new you. So
Okay.
it's breaking down, it's taking the character category and breaking it way down. And which is
Mm,
what everyone starts at the beginning of the year, right? Is they want to have a
yeah.
new you and get rid of all their crap.
Right. It's true though. It's
Which
true.
I did it by,
You know?
having a head injury. I don't want people to go through that.
Right. That's funny. That's funny.
So,
Yeah. But no, it's awesome. Mm,
yeah, the personal mastery system, you can read up on it. My pages tells you all about it, and we
yep.
walk you through all the categories, get them embodied into you, so you're living this extraordinary life. So you're actually living the life that you truly want.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
being the
Right.
best version of you, because they go hand in hand, right?
Yep.
It's kind of like,
100%.
how should I say? It's kind of like manifesting, right? So
Yeah. It's true.
manifesting is like a two part, like your material things, and then
Mhm.
your peace and bliss and harmony, and feeling good, right?
Yeah.
So I
Mm,
combined the two of them in this course. So you're not. It has everything to do with, we were just talking about this. It has everything to do with manifesting. I just don't approach it like that, because manifesting,
yeah.
the word screws people up,
It's true. Yeah.
right? And so I just take them through daily steps. But when you do these daily steps, it's all the steps of what you would do to manifesting. We're just not thinking we're manifesting. So it's not
Yeah.
screwing you up.
Right. No, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And I agree with that point tremendously. And for people listening right now, all like the website, you're gonna find in the YouTube description, you're gonna find the credits to this video. But it's funny, Leah, everything you just said overlaps with last Sunday's once a week message we did for our channel, and it was all about intentions. And so when we're trying to create a new version of ourselves for the new year, we come out and we set a New Year's resolution, but the only way you can achieve the New Year's resolution is to become a new you. And all the work that you do for people, everything we just went over for the last hour, is allowing people to become that new version of themselves, because the
Yes.
person they want to be. It overlaps perfectly, but it starts with the intentions we set. So for people listening right now, if your intention for this year is to be a better version of yourself, is to get what you want, is to find that confidence, is to grow in your character, is to grow in all these areas Leah just touched on, it sounds like this could be your way to act on that intention and to sign right up for Leah's course and become a part of it.
Yeah.
And she has all the knowledge. We just went over for the last hour. She has all the knowledge to help you in the process. Why not take the step for yourself?
Yeah.
But I think it's awesome.
Very true.
Yeah.
Because you want to bring out, I call it like two steps.
Mhm.
You want to bring out the true essence of who you are,
Right.
and you also want to redesign some new characters about yourself too,
Right. Yeah. It's true.
right? Because some people, when it's easy to say, "Oh, bring your true essence out,"
Mm,
and that's what people
right.
say. "Oh, you'll know it's your true essence," and some people really don't. So they've got
Yeah.
to really start from the beginning and design themselves. And as they go
Yeah.
along, they'll start to notice it.
Mm, right. Yeah.
But
That's
I mean,
awesome.
way back when, I wasn't like, "Oh yes, my true essence." I didn't even know what that was, let alone if someone asked me about it, to be like, "Oh yeah, my true
Right.
essence is no.
Right. Exactly. That's funny.
No, I would have had to literally start from the beginning of like, I'm going to pick my character traits and my morals, and then I'm going to see if they start to fit with me, and go from
Yeah.
there.
Right.
Yeah.
The whole process. No, I love it. I think it's
Like
perfect.
you're wrapping it up and I'm talking about something new. That's how
No,
we
no,
just
no,
banter back
no.
and forth.
It kind of segues into the final question I was going to ask you, in the sense of, in wrapping it up, I love to ask people the last few questions, everything. We know where they can find you, but what is a lasting message that you want to leave with people? Because essentially the true essence just kind of leans into that. But what's a lasting message you want to leave with people before
Oh,
we kind of shut the
my,
whole thing down?
my thing is, the best question in the world is to ask yourself what you want. That starts
Okay.
the whole
Yeah.
process of becoming, of designing the life that you want and being the
Right.
best version of you.
Yeah.
That's my biggest, and it's the quality of questions that you ask in life, right?
Yeah. It's true. Yeah.
I just
Now,
think that's the best question in the world.
no, that's all. I think that's perfect. And this question always comes up too when I usually close things out with people that we get into these deeper topics. And it just popped into mind for you. If you could go back in your life and you're talking to your younger self, would you change anything that moving forward to where you are now? Would you change anything that happened to get you where you are now? Because there's a lot in your life that led you to where you are in a great way, right? That's a deep question, but I was like, you know what? You seem like the perfect person to ask.
Like, there's this part of me that wants to like answer, right? And have everyone think that, oh no, I wouldn't, because I've, had this extraordinary life in this context and, like,
Right.
But there is, I have one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is, I wish in parenting that I would have done more for myself.
I get that. Okay. Yeah.
I was
that's awesome.
the mother that lived her life, or that I can remember.
Yeah.
That's come back to me. Is I lived it for my children, and you never know how your children are going to turn out. You never know if they're going to talk to you later on, and you think you're doing this great, parenting thing. I wish I would have done more for myself. Been more of me and who I wanted to be. And, I didn't date. I was a single mother, right, with 3 kids. Yep. And I wish I would have done more of that. That is the thing I would have done differently.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
My parents.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful. That's
being more of me, of who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So do you see, if you were to go back and tell your younger self that, and they began following that, do you think you'd have the same place where you are now in yourself, or would it be a different version of you? Like a different version doing what you're doing now, the whole 9 yards?
Yeah, that's really hard for me to answer that, only because...
Not for everyone to answer that.
Because would that not lead me to my brain injury, which has been the most biggest blessing in my life?
Exactly.
Out of all the crap in my life, So that would be really hard for me to answer,
True.
Truthfully. Didn't want that in my life, but it brought me to where I'm at.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Right. And that's the fun of that question, at least from my end, because we all sit there and like, these are deep questions to think of, like, all right, think of younger me. I can see areas where if I knew everything I knew now and I look back and I went to go help younger version of myself, what would I tell him? How would I navigate it? But to look where I'm at now, I don't know if I would change a thing. As much as I went through so much pain, I went through so much struggle, I made terrible decisions here and there, and it led me so many areas. But if I didn't go through those, I wouldn't have learned what I needed to learn to, one, be who I am now in myself, confidently in myself, but also being able to lend a hand to others. Well, you never know.
And you saying that too, it's just bringing up some stuff for me where that's probably my biggest topic that I'm always working on and have doubts in, is my parenting with my children. And they're all up and gone, and I still have, if I'm talking to them, or they get mad at me, or and so that's a continuous one for me. So I think that's probably why I go back to how a regret, or I would tell my younger self.
I get that. Right. Yeah. Powerful. Not just for you, for people listening to ask themselves those questions,
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's the healing process.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Or just give up the baggage instantly in one day.
Right. Exactly. No, I get it though. But I appreciate it, Leah. I appreciate you walking us through these steps here. I hope people listening and watch right now really took notes and receipts on in front of it, but I hope people look at the link in our description, go and find your website, as you said, leahlovington.com, and they're able to read about it and maybe even start it, because you provide so much information to people. You're an incredible coach. The Reinvent You Summit was incredible. People loved it. And, there's just more on the calendar of 2025 that you're helping people with.
And I want to say this because I believe in compliments, because I think we've lost the art of complimenting. Is on the Reinvent You Summit, in the back end, you can see how many people sign up, right? Okay. And you, by far, your people love you.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I compliment you on that, because by far you had the most people show up.
Really? Okay. Yes. Nice. That's awesome.
By what? I think almost half.
Really? Okay. Yeah. That's cool. I was wondering what the results were. I just kind of was like, all right. Okay.
I loved it. Matter of fact, I think I sent you an email about that. Like, it was.
Oh, wow. I think I did receive something on like some stats, but I thought it was beforehand. I wasn't sure if it was actually when it was go time for that.
And that warms my heart, because when you know that your audience, the people that you serve, love you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So
I really appreciate that.
I was like,
yeah, thank you. I appreciate
I was sitting at my desk and I was like, oh, look at him go. Yes, they love him. They love him.
That's awesome. I appreciate you telling me that. I had no idea, but that's awesome.
Yeah.
I hope there's another. I hope there's another summit. We'll do the same thing. We'll keep the ball rolling with
Yeah.
it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thank you for
Awesome.
having me on today. I
Oh
really
no, it's
appreciate it.
hey, I hope I have you on again, and maybe even next time we can break down that area of character, and because that's the one you always start
Oh,
with. Maybe next time we
that's
do
right.
something
I
like that,
love
right?
character. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can break that
Let's do
down for
it.
people. But I appreciate your time, Leah. Everyone, I thank you so much for tuning in. Go check out Leah's page. As I said, the YouTube description, you're going to find the link. You're going to find her soon to be even more so on social media. I'll put those links in there too. And then, sign up for a course. Go through those 4 steps for yourself and create this life change, this living your life on your own terms for 2025, starting here and now. But please, as always on YouTube, like this message by hitting the thumbs up button below. Share this message to someone who you feel needs to hear it. If Leah's message inspired you, or someone popped in your mind that you know can inspire them, share it to that person to lend a hand and help them just as much. And please subscribe to Once a Week if you have not already. That number is going up every single week, which means we're helping people every single week.
Yes.
And that's our goal, right?
Yeah.
So I thank you guys for tuning in. Leah, once again, it's been a blast, and I cannot wait to have you on again.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, Billy.
Awesome. Have a good one, guys.
You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it a back day. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it turnpike miles. Yeah, it's Boo signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things, don't even have a deal. Yeah, I battle through these bars, yeah, I always bunk a hill, I know.